Hi. In this video, I'm going to go through the 8 guitars that I mostly use here on the channel. I'm going to play them back to back. I'm going to discuss them. I'm going to tell you the specifics of the guitars, what I like about them and what I really don't like about them, why I use some of them more than others, and so on. You can see the times here, so you can skip ahead or watch whatever segment that is of interest to you. Later in this video, we're also going to have a look at some of the comments and feedback that you gave me regarding the recording technique in the last video I did. You know, there I showed you how to record a 4x12, and you know that given the spread of different frequencies, you could basically determine the recording distance that could constitute some kind of optimum. You gave me a feedback there that this may be coupled to the polar patterns, you know, cardioid, hypercardioid, figure 8, omni, and so on of the mics. So that will be looked at the end. So stick around for that. And if you will want to find out how that works, you also told me that, you know, when you back out, you lose some of the bass. That could be mended, or a remedy for that could be to use a ribbon. So I'm going to compare the SM57 to a 1960s Beyerdynamic M160 ribbon and see how that improves certain aspects of the tone. Also, you know, I recorded on the floor. And if you are half a meter from if you put the mic on the floor and have the 4x12 on the floor, lots of frequencies going to bounce and cancel out different frequencies. So we're going to compare that to having the 4x12 on top of a B cab instead. And that of course made a huge difference, but I knew that. But last week I didn't remember it. It's of course what the great Steve Albini recommended. So you have the times here, and there are also time tags in the video description, so you can navigate back and forth and put things side by side that you think are interesting to compare. All right, let's go. All right, so all guitars have their very distinct personality. They will, based on that, they will work in different contexts, different mixes and so on. But especially the humbucker guitars all sounded, at least frequency-wise, very similar. And well, they have basically the same scale length, all but one at any rate. They have a pickup placed along that scale length at basically the same place. So they're going to sound this similar when you have this much overdrive. Now, just for say half a minute, let's listen to some clips of clean sound where I compare some of the guitars. All right, for clean sounds, they are much more different, of course, and that is because of the amp. You know, when you crank the amp, the distortion means lots of harmonics that didn't come from the guitar. It was triggered by the guitar, of course, since you play it through the amp. But for all these guitars, the amp produced basically the same additional frequencies or additional harmonics. You can see here in this picture, I first play an E string, and then you can see here are the fundamental and overtones and so on. And here I play in the next picture here. I play again, but with the amp cranked, and there you can see it's kind of it adds in between these notes with lots of more frequencies, and that's of course basically constant for all guitars. So they're going to sound more similar when you use lots of distortion because it comes from the amp. I also strummed an E chord and measured it. First a clean E chord and then a dirty E chord with, the amount of distortion I had here. And here you can see the difference. So this EQ curve takes the clean tone EQ-wise to the dirty tone. So lots of high end that is produced by amp harmonics added to the tone that didn't come directly from the guitar, and some low end added as well. But this is the tone that I'm interested in. So even though they're very similar, the small differences is what counts for me here. All right, now let's go through the 8 guitars here. All right, now I'm going to say a few words about each of these 8 guitars. This 2008 Les Paul R9 is probably the guitar that I've played the most on the channel. It came with burst buckers 1 and 2, but over the years it has had an enormous amount of pickups back and forth. Right now there is a DiMarzio PAF here and one here as well. The cool thing about that is, those are really low output microphones, and maybe you heard in the test that this guitar almost sounded more hotter than the Les Paul Custom, which had super distortion. So this one measures 7.3 and the Super Distortion measures 12.8 or something like that. And still this one sounded like it had more gain. Now you have to be lucky to find, I mean, they differ quite a lot, these pickups, but if you find one that really picks up the treble in a high resolution way, it's going to sound like it's really hot, the pickup. But still a lot firmer than a high output pickup that muddies up the low end as well. Now that might, to muddy up the low end or roughen it up like the Les Paul Custom and the Super Distortion did, is a good thing too. But this is a completely different flavor. Now let's have a look at some more things here. It has the typical R9 or 1959 neck. So it's not quite the baseball bat, but it's quite thick, so really comfortable. You can see on all guitars I'm using quite a low action, and also this one. That is of course a trade-off, because you know when you pick the notes they hit the fretboard, and that, you know, higher. If I would raise them a bit, it would produce probably a better tone, but so far this is what I have gone for. Another thing that is changed on this guitar since I bought it is this part. This one is changed for a 1950s part. I think those were made of a material called Samac or something like that, which is softer. You can check out the video here on the channel where I compare it to the original. I think it sounds better. The pick guard is, I put that on my custom now instead. I don't have the custom here, so I'll say a few words about that one too. This one weighs 4 kilos basically, and the custom weighs 4.6 kilos, and it has, you know, it's 73. So compared to this almost baseball bat neck, it has a really thin neck and a really heavy body. So it feels kind of awkward to pick up. I love how it sounds, but that's the kind of guitar you don't pick up, because it doesn't feel balanced. But it's just amazing to play. And then I have Super Distortion in the bridge of that guitar from 1977, and the stock T-top in the neck. All right, this is probably the second most used guitar on the channel. It's a 2013 SG. It's custom shop aged guitar. It came with custom buckers. Those were way too bright for this guitar. I still have the custom bucker in the neck, but in the bridge there's a 70s Super Distortion, and you know the Super Distortions are really low end, you know, bassy pickups. You need that because, as you can see here, if you compare this to a Les Paul, it's much closer to the bridge. That is the main reason actually why it's brighter than the Les Paul. You may have seen the Ace Frehley's Les Paul. He had a Les Paul Deluxe, where the previous user had carved out the cavities here to fit, instead of the mini humbuckers, he put Super Distortions in it, and it was, his microphone was also very close to the bridge, but it kind of jumped around, so at some gigs it was further away, so I don't know when it was very close, but often. So I at least imagine that was a part of Ace Frehley's tone. Then this guitar is the lightest I have. It weighs 2.8 kilos basically. It has a bit thinner neck than the Les Paul, and this is the loveliest guitar to play. This one is the most easy to play. It's perfectly balanced. You know, it just begs for you to pick it up. But there is something about this guitar that isn't as growly as the Les Paul. It's very subtle, but so that's why I'm using Les Paul mostly. If it wasn't for that, this guitar would see all the use. I can tell you that. All right, this one is a 1969 or maybe early 70, but 69 specifications at least. SG Special. So I haven't had that long, but this is just an amazing guitar. And when it comes to SGs and especially SG Specials, I think it's pretty important that you can see here, this guitar is all neck. It's basically like a neck with a small appendix of wood down here, which is great when you play it, but you know it's not balanced that way, so you have to hold it all the time. So this is the stock P90s in this guitar. And one bad thing about these Gibsons in the end of the 60s and early 70s, I think this is about 39 millimeters, something like that. Whereas the Les Paul I showed you and earlier Gibsons had 41 or even 42 millimeters here. So it's hard to fit your hands. And that's why it's really important that it has this baseball bat neck. I don't know how usual that was, but this, it as coarse as you can imagine, it's just the tailpiece with the strings wrapped around it, and still it actually intonates really, really well. So hats off to Simon who set that up for me. It actually, you can play all these chords that you usually have to tune to play between. But not for this one. The tuners I think is changed on this one as well. Great tuners. Is it Schaller? Yes. This one weighs more actually than the SG standard. That one is 2.8 basically. You can see a list here. I think this one is 3.1 or 3.2 kilos instead. This one also begs to be picked up like the SG, but since it's not balanced like this, that's a minus, of course. This one is a 1975 Gibson Flying V. I of course bought this one because I love Paul Stanley, both his playing and his tone. This one doesn't see that much use because the frets are really, really low, so it's hard to play it, especially in combination. Like the SG Special, it has the 39 millimeter. Is it 39 or 39 and a half or something like that? Late 60s, 70s neck width at the nut here. But if I would refret it, it would be good enough for me to play with my hands. It has the stock T-tops in it. Many T-tops are actually quite. I think they for the bridge, I usually change them for a beefier pickup, like something more like a PAF or a super distortion. But this T-top sounds really balanced. This one is a bit further from the bridge as well, so it may be darker because of that too. But it's not that far. It looks like since there is no pickup rings around here, it looks like it's further from the bridge, but it actually is somewhat further from the bridge, making it a bit darker. This one has a really thin. It's thick enough to match with this width here. As with all guitars, I have a really low action, as I discussed before, which has pluses and minuses. It weighs basically only 3 kilos, which shocked me when I got the guitar. But everyone who's played Flying V knows that about this. It's almost impossible. So you have to sit with it like this, and it just, the guitar wants to escape from you when you play it. So because of that and the low frets, it doesn't see that much use. But otherwise, it's probably the best of the guitars. Has the best tone. So I'm going to have to make sure that there is always a strap on this one and that it is refretted. Then we have this 1973 Strat, which has been featured a lot on the channel as well. Both me playing it and Simon playing it. Simon's go-to guitar himself is the 69, but he's used this one on channel a lot too. Cool thing about this is that it has a really thin neck, but still it still really feels solid. I have 76 pickups, not 73. I've compared those many times here on the channel. So these are thinner sounding, but I actually like this, especially as I use it as a complement to the Les Paul tonally. This one also has the narrower neck width at the nut. So it's playing up here doesn't fit my fingers that well, which is problematic. But I love the guitar for so much else, so I use it for a lot of things. Here you can see that the previous owner had replaced the nut with a copper nut instead. I don't know if that is a good idea or not, but it sounds good. Well, this is the only guitar that I have that is completely stock, or at least so far. It's 2021 Fender Telecaster, custom shop, 1960 relic. I think the pickups are reproductions of 1957 or 58 or something like that. I love how it sounds, but since it's new pickups and not old pickups, some of the treble are a bit too harsh. Otherwise, I just love this guitar. It, as opposed to the Strat, this one has the nut width of, what is it, 42 or something like that. So it's really easy to play. Nice neck, and as with all guitars, I have really low action. Then we have this cool guitar. It's a 2021 Nordin Comet Krystin. It actually has a scale length between the 24.7 and 25.5 Les Paul and Strat scale length. So it kind of, it's like a Les Paul, but with the scale length stretched out as long as you can, as far as you can to get benefits, but not too far, so it becomes Fenderish. Right now there is a Burstbucker 2 in this one. I bought the vintage Super Distortion for this one too. So this was the only humbucker guitar that had a new pickup, and that's why it was sounding a bit harsher than the other guitars. This is an amazing piece of instrument, so it deserves a vintage pickup. I think it weighs like the Strat, basically 3.4 kilos, this one. And like the SG, this is one of those guitars that just begs to be picked up and be played. All right. Now let's address the feedback I got from you and the ideas I got from you last week. Regarding the microphone position to record a 4x12. The first feedback was to lift up the cab from the floor. So now let's check out what it sounded like last week, and with the amp raised. I put it on top of a big cab. You can see how much better it got. Another thing that we discussed last week was, when you bring the mic out that far, 46 centimeters in this case, you lose a lot of bass. Well, it's good riddance, of course, of the proximity effect, but you want that natural bass out there to be raise it a bit. And one of you guys proposed to use a ribbon. So let's check out here. I'm going to compare a ribbon to the SM57. And finally, there were someone who argued that, you know, the distance where you should put the mic to record the 4x12, that very much depends on whether it's omnicardioid, hypercardioid, and bidirectional, and so on. So I've made this experiment to see. First, I'm recording with all patterns close to the amp. I'm moving it out. So we can see for each pattern when it starts to sound okay. If indeed 46 centimeter is kind of, you know, ballpark a good distance for all these patterns, or if it differs. So let's check it out. Well, I actually thought that somewhere between 40 and 50 was still the best sounding, regardless of polar pattern here. It would be interesting to hear what you think, because it's of course a matter of taste. Before we conclude today, I'm going to tell you a bit about the coming video. You know, when you record a 4x12 with the mic further out in the room, you really want to pick up as much bass as you can. We tried a bunch of parameters now, and I've implemented your feedback. One more thing to try is to try different preamps. I've been using API 312 so far, but that's kind of a thin, not thin, but it's not one of the fatter preamps. So we're going to try the Neve 1073 and the Universal Audio 2610 also. Both of those you can add bass with the EQ without making it sound unnatural. So that will be coming up soon. All right, cheers.